What's up everybody, this is Seek and Nene. Welcome to the fourth tutorial in HTML5 and CSS3. In today's class, I'm going to introduce you to the major tags in HTML. As I promised in the previous tutorial, we will however not cover all the tags in HTML, which time wouldn't even allow us to do, but I'll actually introduce you to some of the basic ones or some of the major ones. Alright, so when we go to our previous project, we started setting up the environment or started setting up the structure of an HTML document. So the second tag I would want to introduce you to is the link tag. So it's actually a self-closing tag. As I told you in the previous tutorial, some of the tags are self-closing like break and the rest. So you just have a link tag, and what this tag does is that it links your HTML documents to an external file, example a JavaScript file or maybe a CSS file. So as time goes on, we'll have a practical feel of how the link tag behaves. Okay, the next one I'm actually coming to talk about, which is also a very big and a major one, is the div tag. Okay, the div tag is more often than not used to group a lot of items on a web page. For example, someone might want to set up a page and have a big div and might set an ID to maybe a big wrapper, and then all contents of the page to be displayed to the viewer might be grouped into this div tag. So we open the div tag with div and then we close it from somewhere. It's actually called a division tag. So div, and then we close the div tag over here. Alright, so this is how the div tag also works. So the next one I'm going to talk about is the section tag. The section tag basically works like the div tag, and you won't really see the difference unless you become an expert or something where you're trying to group some things, and then section wouldn't allow you to float it to some columns. It want to take a particular zone and all that. But div, it's more dynamic than the section when it comes to grouping items and all that. So we also open a section tag and then we close it. Okay, so the next one we come to talk about is aside. Okay, before we continue, look at this page. This is my tutorial page, and everything over here from the header to the footer has been grouped in one div tag, and then I set an ID to be equal to a big wrapper where I set all the CSS files and all that over there. Okay, so the next one I'm coming to talk to you about is the aside. For example, what you are seeing over here is a sidebar of my page, and I use the aside tags to build this side. So it also goes like aside, and then you close the aside over here. Okay, so please take notice of all these things. Okay, the next one we're coming to talk about is the nav tag or the navigation bar. Okay, every website has a navigation bar, if I'm not lying. For example, this is the navigation bar of my site. So when you click on these things, all what you see over here are the contents of the navigation bar. Okay, so we start by opening a nav tag. It's normally somewhere around just below the header tags. So for example, we have nav, and then we close the nav tag over here. Alright, so as I had already told you, it normally comes below the header tags. So let's bring the header tag at once. Alright, so the header tag also carries the basic information you want to display to the user, which is more like a title of a book or something. So let's have a look over here. Nenetech.com, intuitive innovations. Everything you see over here in this black column, this white space, are all grouped in my header tag. So this is actually what carries the heading or the header of the page. So immediately below the header tags we have the nav tags. Alright, so we'll now look at some of the contents that go into these header tags, nav tags, and the rest. Okay, so right now we have to look at one other very important thing, that is the UL. When you talk about UL just basically means an ordered list. So when you want to add a list of items to your page, you bring the list tag. So we have UL and OL. So the ordered list, what the ordered list does is that it automatically numbers the content you want to list on the page. So for instance, I have 5 items in this tag. It's going to display them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before the names of those items I display. So if I don't want you to name or number the items for me, probably just add in some bullets and all that, we'll just use an ordered list, which is UL. Okay, now take notice of one thing. Whenever you bring the ordered or unordered list, you introduce another set of tags which will list the items in the ordered list or the unordered list for you. For example, I want to list 2 items here, so you start with the LI, which means list. So you start with the LI and then you close the LI. Alright, so you come to the next line, and then you do the LI again, and then you close it once again. Okay, so this is how they both work. So you being lazy, I can just copy this code and come and paste over here. So sharp. Alright, so this is how the ordered and unordered list also works. Don't really get yourself confused because we're not really doing any much coding at this moment. So in the next tutorial, we're going to actually put some content in these things, then we see how they all work. Alright, so I would want to talk to you about 2 other ones which are very important. For example, when creating a login page, like my login page over here, you create forms for the people to input their data before logging in. This actually communicates with your database or whatsoever before the authentication is given to the person, and then the person logs onto the system. So this is the form tags that we're coming to introduce over here. Sorry for that. Alright, form, then you close the form. Okay, so this is the form tags. So these things are not really making sense now, and I believe but as time goes on, we will learn how to use them and how to put items on all of them. So the final tag I'm coming to talk about is the input tag. The input tag is what you use to call items to be displayed on a page. It could either be a text field, a password field, a button, a submit, or whatsoever. So the input tag is also self-closing. More often than not, you see the input tags on the forms because the forms are actually the contents that are used to communicate with the databases and all that. So this is just an introduction to some of the basic tags that we'll be using throughout the series of these tutorials. I, however, said in the beginning that these are not the only tags we are coming to look at. Maybe somewhere along the line we could be talking about field sets. We could also be talking about the legend and a whole lot of things which time might not permit us to do in this tutorial. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. See you in the next tutorial.